So this is sixth chapter. It is about the crisis of the democratic order. So what happened after Indira Gandhi won the 1971 elections? Okay, we all know that there was a her popularity raised, and then people were in favor of her, and then we know that what happened. No, it was a reverse of what happened in 1967. Around 9 states where the Congress was defeated. Now all these 9 states basically they were won by the Congress again. Okay, so and then there was a Bangladesh issue as well. Liberation war was there, and Indira Gandhi basically played a big role. Okay, in making this war a success for India, and then this also increased her popularity. But what happened after that? That's it. What we are going to see today till what? No, the emergency. So in this chapter we are going to see why was emergency imposed and what was this necessary? Was it necessary? What did the imposition of emergency mean in practice? What were the consequences of emergency on party politics? And what are the lessons of emergency for the Indian democracy? So in today's class we will see till the emergency is imposed, and then in next class we will see about the repercussions which happened after emergency. Let us see the background. Indira Gandhi had emerged as a towering leader, as I already told you, with a tremendous popularity. This period we also witnessed tensions in the relationship between the government and the judiciary. The Supreme Court found many initiatives of the government to be violative of the constitution. The Congress party took the position that this stand of the court was against the principles of the democracy and the parliamentary supremacy. And the Congress also alleged that the court was a conservative institution and it was becoming an obstacle in the way of implementing poor welfare programs. We know that Indira Gandhi, raised a slogan, "Garibi Hatao." She wanted to project herself as a poor person. Okay, so basically that was one of the important issues which happened at that time. She wanted to make some constitutional amendments where the Supreme Court was not allowing it. Okay, and that also played a very important role how this emergency came into being. And also there were so many protest happening. There was a protest in Bihar, there was a protest in Gujarat, and there was a railway strike. All these led to the emergency. It was not just one issue which led to the emergency. So in this class we are going to see how emergency happened and all the issues, the incidents which led to the emergency, the proclamation of emergency. So the parties opposed to the Congress felt that the politics was becoming too personalized and that governmental authority was being converted into a personal authority. Indira Gandhi was seen like that. Okay, it was basically a personal authority. The split in the Congress had sharpened. We know that there was a split, Congress O and Congress R. And after these 1971 elections, we know that Congress O, the organization, all the stalwarts leaders, the Senate of the Congress, the syndicate of the Congress, they were basically lost the elections. They got very few seats there. And then now the sharp is very clear, the division between Indira Gandhi and her opponents during the emergency, before emergency, and this led to the emergency. We have to know the economic context. Because without knowing economic context, we could not understand why the emergency was levied. See, first thing we need to know is Indira Gandhi gave the slogan, as I told you, "Garibi Hatao." Whether it happened after the elections, but there were so many issues at the time. You see, it did not happen. The social and economic condition in the country did not improve. Okay, one important reason could be of the Bangladesh crisis as well. Okay. About 8 million people during this time, okay, 1971-72 of the East Pakistan border, they entered India, 8 million, 8 lakh people. And this followed a war by Pakistan with Pakistan as well. And during the war, very interesting point I have told you in the last class also, China and US, they were supporting Pakistan. So in spite of this, we won the war and Bangladesh was liberated. It became a sovereign state. But after the war, what happened? The US government stopped all aid to India. Earlier we used to get the aid. Now the US government stopped it. In the international market, oil prices increased manifold. And during this time, and this led to all round increase in the prices of commodities. prices increased by 23% in 1973 and also by 30% in 1974. Such a high level of inflation caused much hardship to the people. So basically the slogan of Garibi Hatao, it did not become a reality. Okay, we can say about what are the reasons which led to this, the Bangladesh crisis we can say, and also the US government stopping all the aid and the increase in the oil, global oil, and also the rates were increased, and this increased the basically the rates of commodities, and poor people were not happy. And also the industrial growth was also low and unemployment was very high, particularly in the rural areas. In order to reduce the expenditure, the government froze the salaries of its employees. So basically salaries were not given, okay, and they were reduced. Those things happened. It was freezing, and then this caused further dissatisfaction among the government employees also. Monsoons also failed. This also affected, okay, that already there were so many problems. Okay, there were no aid we were getting from US, and there was an increase in the market, crude oil market. There are increase in the commodities. So addition to that, the monsoon also failed in that year, 1972-73. Okay, then this resulted in a sharp decline in agriculture productivity, and food grain output declined by almost 8%. Food grain output declined. Instances of then again students unrest that had persisted from the late 1960s, they became more pronounced in this period. And there was also an increase in the activities of the Marxist group, the Maoist people who used to they protest with arms. So this also happened. Okay, these people basically they were very strong in the West Bengal region. See, these Maoists are different. Communist Party of India is different. Communist Party of India, Marxist is different, and these are Maoist people. Okay, they don't believe in the parliamentary politics, and they take arms for struggle. And there the state government took a stringent measures to stop them. So all these things were the issues basically which led to the emergency period. Again, there are some movements, as I told you, Gujarat movement was there, and then Bihar movement, and there was a railway strike, and finally there was a judgment from the Allahabad High Court, okay, related to the, the elections of the Prime Minister of that time, Indira Gandhi, and all these things led to the proclamation of emergency. We will see one by one in detail. So Gujarat movement. So the students protested in Gujarat and Bihar, both of which were Congress ruled state, and had reached impact on the politics of the two states as well as in national politics. We need to know in which year it happened. January 1974, agitation was happening because of the rise in the food grains, cooking oil, commodities, essential commodities, and also against corruption in high places. The students' protest was joined by major opposition parties as well at that time. Okay, so that was very important problem there, and they demanded a fresh election. Okay, so they said there is a corruption going on, and who was the leader who was leading this one in Gujarat? It was Morarji Desai. We know that he was a prominent leader of Congress who was the main rival of Indira Gandhi when he was in the Congress, and announced that he would go on an indefinite fast if fresh elections were not held in the state. This can be a question. Who led the Gujarat movement against Indira Gandhi? Who led the students movement in Indira Gandhi? Who was the leader? It was Morarji Desai. Under intense pressure from the students supported by the opposition political parties, assembly elections happened in Gujarat in June 1975, and the Congress was defeated in this election. Very important point. So Congress lost the state. Okay, so this happened in 1975. Then it comes Bihar movement. The Bihar movement, it starts in March 1974. Students came together in Bihar to protest against rising price for food scarcity, unemployment, corruption. So the issues were similar in both Bihar as well as in Gujarat. Okay, so after a point, they invited Jayaprakash Narayan, JP. He is shortly it is called as JP. So who had given up active politics and was involved in social work to lead the social student movement. He was not part of politics at that time. He said he will lead the student movement. He accepted it on the condition that the movement will remain non-violent and will not limit itself to Bihar. So So basically, JP wanted to lead this movement into a national movement. Okay, Morarji Desai basically he participated in the Gujarat movement. JP Jayaprakash Narayan took part in the Bihar movement, and he wanted to lead this movement into a pan-India movement. Okay, so thus the students movement assumed a political character and has a national appeal. People from all walks of life now entered the movement. Jayaprakash Narayanan demanded the dismissal of the Congress government, okay, and called for total revolution in the social, economic and political spheres in order to establish what he considered to be true democracy. See, JP, this can be a question for CUT, who called for total revolution. It is not Morarji Desai, it is not some other person, Karpuri Thakur, it was basically Jayaprakash Narayan. Jayaprakash Narayan called for total revolution in the social, economic and political spheres. A series of bunds, gheros, strikes were organized in the protest against the Bihar government, and finally, the government, you see, it refused to resign. The movement was becoming to influence national politics. As I told you, Jayaprakash wanted to spread the Bihar movement to other parts of India. Alongside the agitation led by Jayaprakash Narayan, the employees of the railways also called for a nationwide strike. I will be dealing it in a separate slide where I will tell you what happened. So this threatened to paralyze the country's railway strike. Okay. So in 1975, JP led a people's march to the parliament. This was the largest political rallies ever held in the capital. So he led people to the parliament. Who led the people to the parliament? A mass agitation. It was Jayaprakash Narayan. Okay, he was now supported by the non-Congress opposition parties like Bharatiya Janasangh was also supporting, Congress O was supporting, then Bharatiya Lok Dal was supporting, Socialist Party and other parties were supporting. Both the Gujarat and the Bihar agitations were seen as anti-Congress, and rather than opposing the state governments, they were seen as protest against the leadership of Indira Gandhi. She believed that the movement was motivated by personal opposition to her. So likewise, this happened. And finally, you see the railway strike of 1974. So National Coordination Committee for Railways Men struggle, this was led by George Fernandez. So who led this railway strike? It was not JP, Jayaprakash Narayan. Jayaprakash Narayan led the Bihar movement. Okay, so here railway strike was led by George Fernandez. Later he became the minister also in the cabinet of Atal Bihari Vajpayee. So gave a call for nationwide strike by all employees of the railways for pressing their demands related to bonus and the service condition. But the government opposed to these demands. So employees of the India's largest public sector undertaking went on a strike in May 1974. The strike by the railways employee added to the atmosphere of the labor unrest. So I have told you what all the things happened. Okay, Garibi Hatao was not possible, and then the aid was not given by US, and there was a failure of the monsoon. Okay, and there is an increase in the crude oil price rate, and added to that there was a protest in Gujarat, there was a protest in Bihar, and we have a railway strike here. The largest public sector undertaking is going on for a strike. So it raised the issues like the rights of the workers as well. So the government declared the strike illegal, as the government refused to consider the demands of the striking workers. Arrested, many leaders were arrested at the time. Territorial army was deployed to protect the railway tracks, and the strike had to be called off after 20 days without any settlement. 20 days the railways could not work properly, and there was strike was going on, but without settlement it was called off. And then conflict with judiciary. This is also a very interesting point. There were three areas where there was a conflict with, basically conflict with Indira Gandhi's government and the judiciary. Number one, can the parliament abridge fundamental rights? Okay, Indira Gandhi and her parliament, basically the party, the government thought like, yes, of course the parliament can do it. But the Supreme Court said no, it cannot. It cannot abridge the fundamental right, the Supreme Court said. Second question was, can the parliament curtail the right to property? The court said the parliament cannot do it. And thirdly, the parliament amend the constitution saying that it can abridge fundamental rights for giving effect to directive principles. Can a parliament change, abridge fundamental rights to implement directive principles of the state policy? The Supreme Court said no. Okay, so all these were three important constitutional issues which Indira Gandhi wanted to solve, and she thought like the parliament has the power, but the Supreme Court said no. The crisis culminated in the famous Kesavananda Bharati case. In this case, the court gave a decision that there was a some basic feature of the constitution. The parliament cannot amend these features. A very interesting point that the Supreme Court told. There is a basic structure of the constitution is there, and all the elements in the basic structure of the constitution cannot be amended by the parliament, and the parliament is getting power from article 368, which gives the amending power to the parliament. So it said it is limited. Okay, it is not unlimited. So some of the areas which are the elements of the basic structure of the constitution cannot be amended by the parliament. So this was a bigger issue, and finally emergency was declared. So on June 12, 1975, you see Justice Jagmohan Lal Singh. This is the tip of the iceberg. Many people, as I told you the history, many people think like just this is the judgment by the Allahabad High Court led to the imposition of the emergency. Of course, it is the final step which happened, but all these issues are also important, as I told you, from 1971, Bangladesh war, the economic context, okay, all the price rise, the students protest, okay, the railway strike, all these, and there is a battle going on between the government and the Supreme Court. All these led to the declaration of emergency. You see, on 12 June 1975, the climax, Justice Jagmohan Lal Sinha, the name you should remember, so of the Allahabad High Court, he passed a judgment declaring Indira Gandhi's election to the Lok Sabha invalid. The order came on the election petition filed by Raj Narayan. So the name is also important, who filed a petition against Indira Gandhi's election to the Lok Sabha. Okay, it was Raj Narayan, a socialist leader who had contested against her in the 1971 election. The petition challenged the election of the Indira Gandhi on the ground that she had used the services of the government servants in her election campaign. So the judgment of the High Court meant that legally she was no more an MP. So she was disqualified basically. So the Prime Minister, you know that to become an executive you have to be part of the legislature. Okay, so now she is no more the part of legislature, and therefore could not remain the Prime Minister unless she was once again elected as an MP within 6 months. On June 24, the Supreme Court granted her a partial stay on the High Court order till her appeal was decided. She could remain an MP but could not take part in the proceedings in the Lok Sabha. So this was Supreme Court. So Supreme Court said, okay, of course she can go, she could remain an MP, she could remain a Prime Minister, but she could not take part in the proceedings of the Lok Sabha. So this was a partial stay which happened. Okay, the Supreme Court did not give the clean sheet, but it said that there is a stay in the order of the High Court, and she could not attend the Lok Sabha. So this is the time when Indira Gandhi proclaimed emergency. So in the next class we will see the next what happened on the day of the emergency and the context which after emergency what other things happened in India. Thank you very much for listening.